Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another podcast from VOK, Vassals of Kingsgrave. Like the intro said, I recently came back from a trip to Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I was able to hang out for a little bit at the theater owned by George R.R. Martin, the Jean Cocteau. And since it was for one of the Game of Thrones marathons that he's been having every Monday night, I figured this might be a good opportunity to kind of come on a podcast and talk a little bit about the experience and kind of do like a VOK reports. So I'm Travis. I'm TravisoTraviso on the forums.
And I'm Brian, X-Forum, I think, on the forums.
That's correct. Have you posted yet, by the way?
I don't think I've posted, but I have created a profile.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
So the little steps. But hey, you're a good listener, so that's got to count for something.
That is true. I am very good at listening.
So, we're both in Dallas. If you listened to one of our other podcasts we did on the George R.R. Martin exhibit in called Station Deeper Than Swords, we're kind of doing like another one of those where we kind of talk about an exhibit or event that I was kind of lucky to be able to go to. My job allows me to travel and have some weird days off. So ordinarily I wouldn't have taken off on a Monday and flown up to Santa Fe to stand in line without really knowing if I was going to get in the theater or not. But kind of got lucky and everything lined up and I got to go up there. So for those of you that don't know, George R.R. Martin owns a theater. It's a little tiny kind of independent, eclectic type place in Santa Fe called the Jean Cocteau. I really hope I'm saying that right.
Just try to keep it clean.
Yeah. No, we're coming out here like, hey, I'm the expert on this theater, okay? I'm a legitimate reporter, and I went up there and I'm going to share my experiences. I can't even get the damn name right. So anyway, it's this little tiny theater, and he's showing all sorts of weird and cool stuff, like independent movies that didn't get a big U.S. release, foreign films, stuff like The Last Unicorn he was really pushing recently on his website and on the Facebook account for the theater. So some cool stuff, but he's also in trying to pump up the theater, maybe give some pub out to Game of Thrones. He's doing pretty much every episode, showing every episode in the theater. It happens on Monday nights. He shows 2 or 3 episodes a night, free of charge, which is cool, but you got to show up early because it's first come, first served, and since it's only 125 people, it may sound like a lot. It's actually really, really small once you fit people in that theater.
Well, if you are pronouncing it wrong, it'll just be like when Game of Thrones came out and changed everybody's pronunciation of various characters and places from Song of Ice and Fire.
That's right. Like Theon or Theon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool other than standing in line. So basically, I was trying to limit my expenses on this trip, so I basically just flew in really early into Albuquerque and drove up to Santa Fe. It was one of those things where I wanted to kind of hang out and check out some other places, but if you're going somewhere specifically for one reason, and this reason was to stand in line outside at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I just figured when I drove by the theater, there were already about 50 people in line at about 1:30, so I figured, okay, this is what I'm here for, even though I wanted to go get some like hot chocolate around the square, because I hear like Santa Fe hot chocolate is a thing. Don't just gestate with your hands. This is a podcast. You have to say something.
What would you prefer that I gestate with? I believe the term is gesture, but I am not familiar with Santa Fe's hot chocolate reputation. But
no, it's a
take
thing.
Your word for it.
No, like they have all these different spices, and it's like, I don't know. And apparently it doesn't have green chilies in it. If anyone's familiar with New Mexico, it actually, they're huge on green chilies, and I literally had green chilies in everything I ate in like the 3 meals that I ate there without even trying to. But anyway, I digress. Was basically looking for a place to park, kind of talked with a few people in line. Some people showed up at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and this was like legit line standing. Is that a thing?
Line standing is a thing.
No, these people were prepared. I showed up like wearing boots, not really bringing a book because I finished reading The Princess and the Queen on the plane. I was not prepared, and there was people in long chairs with blankets because it warmed up to about 50 degrees or so, but in the shade and in the evening it got pretty cold, and people were up in blankets. There were people playing board games. There were people reading the books.
You didn't even have your phone loaded up with VOK podcasts to listen to?
No, I didn't even have headphones when I was there. I was really ill prepared to just stand in line. I knew that was going to be the thing, so I'm just sitting there kind of hoping. I hope there's someone cool that I can talk to, and there was not. There were plenty. That sounds bad. There were plenty of very nice people in line, but I actually ended up standing next to the most annoying person that was there. And I would
second most annoying person.
No, he beats me. He was terrible. Of just an awful human being. And you know what? At one point, I was like, no, I'm not going to judge. But then he revealed that he was a show watcher and not a book reader. And then, even though he had his little Targaryen shirt and his little Targaryen pen, and he was talking about all the people that he liked and his favorite characters, I was like, never mind, dude.
Did you just start dropping book characters on him?
No, yeah, he was all talking about the Targaryens, and I wanted to drop some Blackfire shit on him and be like, okay, which one did you back, motherfucker? Nice. The red or the red or the black? And now I can ask the black or the green, but I don't know if you're that far around in Princess and the Queen yet.
No, I am that far.
Okay, that's good. No, but oh my gosh, this guy was terrible. Well, it was really funny, though, because he brought his girlfriend. He said girlfriend. I'm making air quotes. And he was telling, all sorts of terrible, racist jokes and blonde jokes. And she would be, walking away from him just to go to the car. And he'd be like, wait, no, come back. You really like this one. And she just, under her breath, no, I won't. No, I'm going to make you cheer up. No, you won't. Oh, it's so awesome. So, basically, stood in line for hours. But the people working the theater were nice enough to come out and tell us what was going on. They brought coffee and donuts out. There were some people with, you could tell were really ready for this. There was one guy with a wooden sword that looked really similar to one Arya or Maisie Williams fights with. And come on, man, mute your phone. What's happening?
I don't know. For some reason, my alarm for tomorrow went off now.
Trying so hard. No, so there were people with a Stark dire wolf flag out there. It was really cool, the excitement from the fans, other than the annoying guy next to me that wouldn't shut up.
At what point in the day would you say that it reached capacity, or did it reach capacity before the doors opened?
Well, see, in previous weeks, it reached capacity about 4 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And doors open about 5:45 or 6. And so if you got there by 4, you were usually good. And that's actually what the theater said on their Facebook. But in previous weeks, George was doing things like doing Skype interviews with the actor that played Roderick Castle. That was week 2, I believe. I don't think he had anybody for week 1. This was the 3rd week that he was doing the event. And this week he actually had Maisie Williams in person. So she was actually at the theater, and that was probably part of the reason that it filled up so quickly. And so he had basically I probably should have mentioned that earlier at the beginning of the podcast, that's why this was a little bit more interesting than just going and watching a couple episodes of the show, is that he was promoting, basically doing a Q&A session with Maisie Williams. George was be doing a Q&A, and also he took this opportunity to promote a charity he's involved with, which was a wolf sanctuary in New Mexico. So they actually had a couple real-life wolves out there, and he's a big supporter of the Wolf Sanctuary. They do really good work. I'll put a link up on the forums to the website, because they're all about getting involved in social media and sharing information and trying to promote their causes and everything. And it's really cool. They spent a lot of time. There was actually a little Q&A session with the wolf guy. Dude, the wolf guys, I'll have to put up pictures on my Tumblr or on the forums. These guys, because they were so badass. You could take all of the testosterone in line and then roll it together, and it wouldn't equal one of these wolf wranglers.
I saw these pictures. I think maybe you either texted them to me or tweeted like just one of the pictures or whatever. And I didn't realize at the time that these were professional wolf guys. I thought they were just overzealous fans that had brought along a wolf with them. So I actually feel a little bit better about the situation now.
Did I just send you a picture and be like, dude, there's wolves here now?
I don't even think there was a caption. It was just a picture.
Oh, like, here's a wolf.
Yeah.
No, it was funny because George, Maisie, their assistants and handlers and stuff, and then the wolves basically came walking out from the parking lot. So if you imagine the entrance to the theater is around one corner. It's really cool. It's got kind of like an old school classic marquee. And then the line wrapped around the corner of the theater down the street. And then the parking lot was kind of opposite the line there. And so when all of the wolves, Maisie and George came, they actually came from the parking lot, which was kind of in the direction of the west. So they're basically walking towards us as the sun is setting. Like, I don't know if they timed this on purpose, but it was kind of hard to see. But one of the people next to me, I just hear, holy shit, that guy's got a sweet duster. So these two wolf guys are decked out in these leather dusters that like just look huge and awesome. One has like these stringy like ex-rock star hair. He literally looks like Iggy Pop. And the other guy is completely bald with like pseudo handlebar mustache. Just like, damn. And these guys just got these wolves like on these leashes. Like, and that was the thing. The wolves were just walking around in the crowd. They weren't like caged up. They didn't have muzzles on. They didn't have anything. They were just like would walk right by you.
You could have died.
Yeah, but I didn't.
You could have.
I survived wolves, Brian.
Wow.
Well, it was funny too because people were putting their hands out to, because that's what you do if you see a dog. Mm-hmm. If you're meeting a dog, you put your hand out so he can sniff it. And the thing that the wolf guys just kept repeating were, nope, don't need to do that. He smelled you half a mile away. I was like, that's awesome. They're like, and so I knelt down at one point because I'm like, okay, cool, we're friends now. And he's like, don't put your face near him. Don't if you put your face near him, he'll think you're threatening him. I was like, yes, I'm going to die by wolf here tonight. But it didn't stop Maisie from doing it. She was like just getting down and like doing the whole like ruffling the neck of the wolf, and they were like best friends. But
well, she's a major television star. You're just a person. I'm just a guy.
Yeah. With a camera. No, but the crowd was really excited, and it was really kind of funny because you're like, there was over 125 people in line. They basically told people if they were in line, you can hang out. Maisie will sign stuff, and George will come by, and they actually did a pretty good job of, the people that were kind of up near the front in line, they were kind of like, hi, how's it going? And just sort of talking as they walked by. But they actually hung out and stayed with some of the people that were back in line to kind of make it worth their while for not being able to stay very late. So I thought that was cool. And the crowd was they were all pretty jazzed to see George and Maisie and everything. So, of course, the annoying guy didn't listen to the rules. They were saying no pictures, we'll do pictures later, but he was trying to take pictures and stuff with Maisie and trying to do like selfies and stuff. But it was really kind of funny though. It must be overwhelming because you think that they must be used to it, but Maisie actually seemed pretty like taken aback by the crowd's reaction and just by the huge number of people like, hi, how's it? I mean, she was really nice and definitely like kind of she seemed to get more comfortable like during the Q&A session and everything. But I'm sure it's intimidating to see just like people lined up around the block to see you. I can't imagine that going through like anyone's mind, let alone someone who's like only 16 and still kind of new to the attention and all the limelight, so to speak.
Right.
But that was kind of, I'll be honest, like standing out in the cold. It wasn't really that cold, but I'm from Texas, and not being that prepared, part of me was like, is this really a good idea? But after getting inside, the theater was really cool. It was really small, but that kind of added a lot to the intimacy because, man, it almost felt like an after party type feel because it was really kind of closed in. You were getting an opportunity to just talk to, like George was just kind of walking around, so you'd be standing in line for pizza and he'd be sitting there and he'd be like, hey, thanks for putting this together. He goes, oh yeah, you're welcome. I mean, just it got like sort of more casual once we got in the theater. We're outside, it kind of had that whole sort of like, I haven't been to like any like Dragon Con or anything like that, but it had a little bit more, when they showed up, a little bit more frenzied type crazy, not not crazy. That's not the right word. Or frenzy. Just more fan excitement type feeling. When you got inside it, it felt more like kind of like a casual thing. Like, okay, this is the event. You're here. Everyone kind of chill out. And it was awesome. And, plus the theater serves beer. And so I wish I could tell you one of the wolf wrangler guys did a whole like 15-minute session on the wolves, and you could take pictures with the wolves. Missed all of that because I was in line for beer. But I was supporting the theater, which is important. If you're in New Mexico, go out and support the theater.
Was it at least decent beer?
No, it was real good. Yeah. They had Deschutes or whatever. Is that how you...
Okay.
Yeah, like porter. That was good. The pizza looked really good, too. That's the thing. Like, all this stuff was not expensive. Like, the beers were like $4.
The
pizza was like $3.50. I mean, the theater needs... I mean, I want the theater to be successful because, I'm Team George or whatever. But they really need to charge more money. I don't really say that very often, but you go to a theater that serves beer, you're paying like $7 for it. And it's like for like a Dos Equis or something.
Right.
So do you have any questions for me after this point, Brian?
No, not yet.
Because, I could just keep talking, or you could kind of help me out a little bit here.
Yeah, not really any questions thus far.
I don't want you to overexert yourself or anything over there.
Well, I take what I given to work with, and
oh God, I gave you wolves, Brian. I gave you wolves and Maisie Williams.
Okay, what colors were the wolves?
That's a great question, Brian. One of the wolves was white.
It's a terrible question. But
one of the wolves was white. His name was Flurry, like a snow flurry. And one of the wolves was gray, and I don't remember his name.
Did you talk to Maisie Williams?
I said, "Hi, how's it going?" And she goes, "Good, thanks." I think that's when she was a little overwhelmed.
Yes, I've seen you had that effect on people.
No, definitely wasn't creeped out by me.
I didn't say anything about being creeped out.
Oh, okay.
So,
right. No, so we all get in the theater, and it was kind of cool because, like, way too classy for us because they do the whole dim the lights thing to let you know stuff's about to start. And I was like one of the last people in. I don't know how I got a good seat, and I'm sitting there walking with my 2 beers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like the lights are going down, and George comes up on stage and basically thanks everyone for being there and introduces the episode, and then it kind of sinks in that, holy crap, I'm watching like Game of Thrones with George Martin and Maisie Williams. I mean, they're 30 feet away or whatever, like in his theater. Like, this is awesome. And I'd never actually watched Game of Thrones. I've only been to like one...
Wait, you've never watched Game of Thrones?
No. Oh, okay. No, there were people, because you would hear people like explaining things to other people like, okay, so that's this guy, and this is after this happens. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, there are so many diehard fans that would love to be here, and there's literally people that just live in New Mexico that were like, yeah, I've been meaning to watch it, but since, George is doing this thing, I guess I'll just come and watch it here, who have not seen it before, let alone read the books. And they're just like, yeah, since he's showing it for free and I don't have HBO, I'll watch it now.
Which episode were they screening?
That would have been, no, I'll get there.
Sorry for my hard-hitting question.
I can't take these questions. The Pointy End was one of them.
Okay.
That's the one George wrote. That was episode 8. So it was 6, 7, 8 of the first season. And I don't remember the titles, but it was The Pointy End and the one before that, and then the one that preceded that one.
Okay.
So it basically starts with, we actually get like the iconic line that's just in the show, what do we say to death? There's only one God, his name is death, and what do we say to death? Not today. That was, and everybody goes nuts. What I was trying to say is, I've watched Game of Thrones a couple times with like a group of people, like either at a party or something, but only like twice, I think. And even in doing that, there were some people that weren't really familiar with the show or watching it just to watch it because it was like a party for it.
Or people were busy doing pull-up contests.
Right. I'd had a Game of Thrones watching party, and we drank beer, and at one point a pull-up contest broke out. I don't know.
I was watching the episodes, but there were others in the mid.
I was doing a pull-up contest.
Thought that a pull-up contest would be a better use of their time.
It really made a lot of sense at the time, though.
It really didn't.
So anyway, no, it was really cool to watch it with like a group of mostly diehard fans who were kind of reacting and everyone was laughing at certain things, and it was really cool. And also George was showing, they showed trailers and stuff for all the different movies that he's showing at the theater, and that was cool too. Because I love movie trailers. I always try to seek out new movie trailers, and there's a bunch of stuff I had no idea what was about. Like one movie is coming out about a struggling actress, and it was actually the actress in it was originally auditioning for Game of Thrones. And there's all these little scenes where it looks like a fantasy epic because it's about her attempts to get on a movie. And it's actually inspired by her experience going through auditions in Game of Thrones. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think it's an English movie, and so and another movie that they're I'm going off topic. I don't know how, but has Zoe Bell or Zoe Bell, the stunt woman in the Quentin Tarantino movies.
Right.
She has she's starring in some. It looks like a mix between Fight Club and Hunger Games, where all these women have to fight to the death in this pit, but they don't know why or something. I mean, it looks really high class, it really does. That's gonna sound terrible, but it actually looks really well done. But it's also funny to hear George kind of talking about these movies too,
So he commented on the different movies?
Yeah, because he would take the opportunity, because we had 3 episodes, and so they'd do a little intermission, and he'd get up there and kind of talk about the different stuff they had going on, or what authors he's having come out to the theater and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was cool. I hope the theater does well and everything. So we watched the 3 episodes, and that was pretty cool. But really, where the evening really started to kind of reveal some of the more some of the more the things that I didn't know, the reasons I couldn't really describe why I was excited about going. Oh, I get to go to this theater and it's George R. Martin, but why is that a cool thing? And when we started doing the Q&A sessions, that's to me is when it kind of clicked, because if you say that George is my favorite author right now, maybe my favorite author ever, definitely top 3, and for him to make himself that accessible, where you can ask him just questions, especially just where he just opens up to the floor. One of the theater employees was just running around with a mic. There wasn't anybody that was really emceeing the thing. It was just George. And same thing with Maisie, where it was just hey, ask me a question. And you have 125 super fans for the most part in that room. That's going to be intimidating for, because, there's people that'll take pot shots at him and be like, so what have you been doing since you haven't been writing the next book? I mean, no one asked a question like that, but, opening yourself up to a crowd has got to be one of the most frightening things I can imagine.
Right.
Other than doing a podcast with Brian. I don't know. Just kidding.
I can make it more difficult on you.
I don't know how. He just pushed his mic away from him. Come on, bring it back. I'm sorry.
I don't know why you gotta be like that.
Oh, shut up.
So, let's see, what's a good question to ask you at this point? Okay, so as you were saying, you watched the 3 shows, and they got up, and was it George first or Maisie first?
Maisie first, actually, and I attempted to record some of the Q&A sessions that we can do a little playback now, and then maybe you'll find that more interesting than me talking, and you'll actually comment on something.
I think that you should accept my silence as the fact that I am interested in what you're saying.
Oh, well, thank you.
Instead of cutting you off, so.
Well, that's very respectful.
That's really all I'm about, is being respectful.
That's right. And I apologize. I don't mean to make the podcast all weird and tense or anything.
You're just a natural.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, so give me a second, and I'll key up the Q&A stuff. Okay. Hopefully this works, because I basically recorded it on my phone. There's a lot of other voice memos on my phone that I'd be really kind of embarrassed if they ended up on the podcast. I'm actually kind of doing this live because Brian hasn't heard the Q&A, so I'm playing it and recording it. Hopefully this comes across okay. I might have to turn this up a little bit, so let's see. Oh.
I like that you're doing all that setup, since if you do play a awkward voice memo, you can always edit that out before you post it. So
or not. What if I just leave it in to keep things real?
Well, you won't do that if it's too awkward.
All right, let's see if I can get this going here. Okay, I think we got it.
We encountered a little bit of technical difficulties getting the playback from the Q&A sessions, but I think we got things worked out. So
yes, thank you, Brian. All right, so we're going to start with the Maisie Q&A, and Brian, just tell me to stop it if you want me to stop it and ask questions or whatever.
All right.
I mean, I think we should, otherwise we're just going to listen to this for like 45 minutes, and then or we could do that. Who knows? We could go get a beer. Just play this.
Yeah, we'll see.
Very serious acting.
Oh, maybe I should say that someone asked George a question, and they were basically starting off the Q&A, and I thought, hey, maybe I should record this because this might be really awesome. And so he asked him a question, and he's basically talking about how in casting Game of Thrones and turning his novels into a TV show, he was most concerned about the child actors. And so he's talking about some of the early auditions with the first round of kids that they had coming in.
And just for clarification, we're not entirely sure about the legality or propriety of sharing this, but just shh.
Right.
Written that way. I mean, they require very serious acting and a lot of heavy, dark stuff, grief and pain and all of that, as well as the other stuff. And I was looking through all of these auditions, and one kid after another saying, "Oh my God, no." That one is just saying the words. That one, someone told him he should emote, and he's like rolling his eyes and grimacing. God, how is this going to work? And then we saw Maisie, and it was just amazing. I mean, the minute I saw her audition, which you guys can see now online too, through the wonders of YouTube. I'm glad we have our She was great in that, and Sophie Turner, who plays Sansa, was also great in the corresponding part of a scene which, oddly enough, never actually made the show, but a scene straight from the books where they were on the road and Arya is going out with her friend the butcher's boy to the Rhaegar's ford, the Ruby Ford, and Sansa wants to have lemon cakes with the queen. I miss that scene. I wish we had that scene.
Lemon cakes.
No, I love how it's so funny because, sometimes you wonder after writing so many books and after being so involved in all this stuff, because he doesn't just, does so many stuff with conventions now and, stuff like this, which is awesome. Like, you sometimes wonder, okay, with as much writing as he have to get done, and you see him getting involved in other projects. Like, it's so cool to see that he's on it. He still loves the material so much. Like, he's talking about stuff in the first book and going back to Robert's Rebellion. Like, when the reason the place is called the Ruby Ford. It's the whole Battle of the Trident stuff, and he's like just immediately slips into that and starts talking. Like, it was just really cool to see that he still has. It sounds weird, but an appreciation for his own material. Like, part of me would be wondered after all of the stuff he's done, like if it becomes more of a burden or more of a just giant monkey on the back to try to finish. But it's so cool to see he's still energetic about it. Like,
right.
I don't know if that's just me as a fan being like paranoid for no damn good reason, but it was just cool to see the enthusiasm that the creator has in his work. Because sometimes, like with rock stars, they get too cool for their own, shit. It's like, yeah, well, whatever, man. And he's not that way, and that's just really cool. I thought that was really cool to see, and it comes across in him talking about the show and the book. So
right. Although on the other hand, maybe if he didn't love it quite so much, the original plan of 3 books wouldn't have blossomed into 7. Not that I'm complaining by any means. Just kind of assume that that's the approach he had. And that's why it bloomed so much, that it became when you read it and you read all the world building and everything, it's clearly a place that he has spent way more time in than probably any of us. You know?
No, it's interesting, and I actually remember that topic because I asked a question kind of about that in sort of a way, and I also forgot to record it, so hopefully I can remember. So here we go. Keep it going.
And Sophie were both amazing in it. So that's how it was from my point of view. How was it from your point of view?
I had just started auditioning for films and stuff, and we got through the role of Arya. And
it's also kind of funny to remember, and I mean this in the best ways because Maisie was awesome and gracious, but she's still a person and still very much like a 16-year-old, and the cavalcade of ums and likes, just kind of, it was kind of funny. It was very endearing in a way.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like listening to one of our podcasts.
Yeah. I only hope I'm that cute and endearing and like gracious and
yeah, you shouldn't hope for that.
No, also like that's the first thing I thought of, and the second thing I thought of was, damn it, I wish I was English, because even with that, she still sounds way more intelligent and well-read and well-spoken than I do when I'm like talking somewhat coherently.
That is a good point.
Yeah. So anyway, the Great Maisie. Here we go.
I didn't even know what HBO was. Didn't have a clue what it was gonna be, how big it was gonna become. But yeah, me and Mum sat down and I learnt my lines, and then we went up and auditioned, and then they liked me, and then we went back for a second audition when I met Sophie and a few other girls who were also up for the role of Sansa. I immediately got on so well with Sophie, and I came out of the audition and said to Mum, like, even if I don't get the part, I really want that girl to get the part because I think she's really good. So, and turns out Sophie had said the exact same thing to her mum when she left the audition. So when we came to the pilot episode and realised that we both got the part, I was looking at a little thumbnail online trying to figure out if it was her or not, and it was. So yeah, I was just so thrilled, and yeah, I guess it must have come across on camera how well we got on with each other. So many people were a bit nervous. But yeah, and then I guess...
Did anyone warn you of all the dark stuff that lay ahead for Arya and you?
Well, Mum had started reading the books, and so did my stepdad. And when I did my final audition, they just finished book 1, so they knew, the majority of stuff that happens in Game of Thrones. Yeah, they're kind of cool with it, I think. I guess the thing is about being in the show is that I see a lot of this stuff happening, and I guess it kind of spoils it a little bit, because I know that wasn't really real, and how they did that trick and how they did this thing, and I think at the time me and my family were just so thrilled that like I was even doing auditions for these kind of things. Like, that didn't even matter about what it was. It was just like, let's go and have a good time and see if something could come out of all of this. So I don't think anyone was really in the position to be like, well, it's a bit too grown up, Maisie, let's take a step back. It was just too good of an opportunity to miss. So yeah, we knew what was going to happen, but
now at the time that you got the role, you were not even someone who was obsessed with being an actor. You wanted to be a dancer, and you're still interested in dance, right?
Yeah. So I used to attend, well, I still do attend, a dance school near me called Susan Hill School of Dancing. And I started that when I was 10, and I auditioned for Game of Thrones when I was 12. So this all happened very late, and there was a lot of girls there that had been dancing since they were 3 and could dance before they could walk. And, those kind of kids. And then I was just a bit late to it and wasn't really sure, how good I was. I just really, really enjoyed it and knew that dancing was exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. And the founder of Susan Hill School of Dancing, Susan Hill, she thought it would be a good idea to go in for this talent show that had just come up. She got like a flyer through. So we went along, and I also did a monologue, and I sang a little song from Little Mermaid. I put on like a little cute outfit and did a little modelling thing, and just to get recognised, really, just someone to, maybe if they liked me, then I wanted to dance, but I thought, if someone recognised me as something else, one day maybe I'll get into the dancing, just, to see how good you are on a bigger scale, not just like your local, So and that went really, really well. At the end of the week, we all had callbacks, and one of which was from Pippa Hall, who is a big child casting director in the UK. She was doing Young Rookie 2 at the time, so I read into that, and I did really well for a first, first part I've ever read in for. There was me and another girl at the end, and unfortunately I was too short for the part because my little brother was like 3 inches taller than me, so they went with the other girl, and then about 3-4 weeks later, Louise, my agent, came back and said, oh, we've got an audition for Game of Thrones. And I started reading through it and stuff, and then that happened. So before I could even, before I can even grasp what was going on, I'm like sat in front of all of you guys talking about, and I'm still not dancing. But yeah, I still do dance. I'm at a dance college, and one day I hope to play Velma in Chicago on Broadway.
So really, Travis, her story is much like your own.
The love of dance and
Yes.
everything I do, it's really what I hope to do is just get back to the theater and get back up on stage.
Exactly.
That's right. It is funny, like how when you run across really successful people, it's like one of those. And maybe this happens more often than not, or maybe it's just perception of no, I was really trying to go out and do this, but it just turns out like I'm like a kick-ass basketball player, or like the people that I think it has a tendency to seem like it happens with people in the performing arts, where I was like first chair violinist, but then I decided to do acting, and then I did like singing, and then you're like, holy shit, like how are you that talented?
Yeah, I think some of that though is people who don't have that story. They don't sit there and tell you their story of how they were really trying hard to be an actress and just went on audition. That's not an interesting story. Like, it's
or no, like I didn't play sports growing up. I just did violin lessons and singing lessons, and the same way that like I devote time to Call of Duty. Someone else devotes time to something that's actually like benefits them. And because like Anna Kendrick, for example, it's like, oh, she's an awesome actress and an awesome singer, and like how is someone like that all these different things? And like Russell Crowe,
yeah, well, I mean,
because he's a singer, that was a joke, and an actor.
Yeah. And
Come
you
on.
know how like you're both like a podcaster and a comedian,
right?
Like it's the same thing.
Oh God. All right, we'll just get back to this.
Definitely. It's just choreography, and people are always like, "Do you think you'd be really good at combat? Like, you actually have to fight someone?" And really, it's just like a routine. So unfortunately, no. I would really try, but
I think someone asked a question about like combat or the fighting scenes and stuff like that. So that's what she's answering now.
Any better than anyone else because we just do a routine, and I know where the sword's going to come, and I know what I'm going to do. So.
Gotta be careful of those routines, though.
Yeah, because they're lethal.
Did I ever tell you the story of my first script on Twilight Zone? First script of mine ever produced, Twilight Zone.
I didn't catch when he said Twilight Zone. You can go ahead.
You're good?
Didn't hear what
Okay.
he said.
1986, I think it was. My adaptation of Roger Zelazny's classic short story, Last Defenders, Camelot, ends with a broadsword fight. Two knights in full armor fighting. Sir Lancelot, who was being played by Richard Kiley, fighting an enchanted suit of armor called the Hollow Knight. I saw them rehearse that broadsword fight 20 times in the lobby of, actually the lobby of St. Elsewhere, which was right next to us. Was the show that shot on the next soundstage. It was sort of weird. And they were both in full armor with helmets and visors. But when it actually came to the day, they started doing the first take, and the director said, oh, I want to see Richard Kiley's face. Take the visor off his helmet. Which meant if we took the visor off Richard Kiley's helmet so we could see his expressions, we also had to take the visor off his stuntman's helmet so they would match. And they're in the middle of this sword fight, swinging these broadswords, and they've rehearsed it all these times, but someone makes a mistake. And suddenly the stuntman is screaming and covering his face and shouting, "My nose, my nose." His nose had actually been cut off, and that's where I got the whole thing that I used of Tyrion's nose being cut off. We had to crawl around on the stage and find the guy's nose, and they rushed him to the hospital and sewed it back on. It was just a tip of the nose. He didn't lose the whole nose. They had better plastic surgery than they did in those days. So you got to watch that choreography.
That makes me even more upset about the that in the show he didn't lose his nose.
No, and you know what? It cracked me up, and it's like you lose a little bit in just the audio, but the look on his face and his body language when he said, was mentioning the director didn't want them, he said, lose the helmet. Because if you've listened to any other interviews with George, like he's all about the helmets. Like he like hates it. Like if you watch the commentary on Blackwater, where he'll just like the whole battle scene every couple minutes he sit there and you can see they're not wearing helmets, and that's what happens. And like a rock falls on someone's head or something, it just breaks it open. So I thought it was really funny that the benefits, like the virtues of helmets, were really just like hammered into him at a very early age. So
that's awesome.
You tell me this after I've done it all. Yeah.
So let's have some questions from the audience. Jules, can you?
Oh, first of all.
Just from reading the books, I know that you're always asked a lot of questions, and one of the big questions you have to ask is we have to repeat 3 things that you learned that you didn't know before when you last left us. So what are 3 things that you're learning now as, not as Arya Stark, but as nobody?
I don't know if she's gotten to that part yet.
Oh, well, what are 3 things that you've learned that you think that you'll take with from Game of Thrones being on the setting? Like you'll take with you and always remember for the rest of your life.
Well, I won't do any more choreography. I'll take food with me everywhere I go because the days are long and everyone needs food. And I won't trust Alastair.
I do like when sometimes, and it happens like with either actors or musicians or whatever, if you're like, what have you learned from this great experience? And like, it's just a very earnest, like human answer of like food. I want to bring snacks with me. And it's like, yes, that makes sense. I like snacks too. Okay.
I know this was shot all over the world. What was your favorite location and why?
So at the moment there, I didn't know if I was supposed to tell you this. I'm going to tell you. So at the moment we shoot in Belfast for the majority of it, and that's where most of my stuff is shot. But they're running out of locations because Ireland is tiny, and so they've started shooting in Iceland, but in the summer, so it looks lovely greenery and it looks similar to Ireland. So I got to go there this year, which is fantastic. And some of the most amazing locations and places that the public aren't even allowed to go. And yeah, it was just a great experience and just something that is a complete bonus with this, a job. It's not a job at all. You're just having a great time, and even if it is like bad weather or whatever, you just look around and you're just in the most amazing places, and I think that just really makes it all worthwhile. So yeah, Iceland.
Did you like Malta?
I did like Malta, but I was in there for a little bit, and I found it really hot too. Like, I sit in Belfast, I'm like, oh, it's freezing cold. But I think in Malta, when we were doing the episode 10, the big beheading, that was just not nice. Like, all the extras, everyone all surrounded with each other, everyone's just sweating, really hot, and you gotta wait for this or that, and it's just, yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience, but it was nice to have sun. I do miss it now. I wish I'd not taken it for granted. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, and I did get a chance to answer a question. To ask a question. That'd be really awkward if I answered a question. Wait, no, Maisie, I'll take this one.
That would have been great.
So you might recognize my voice, or I might have a little bit of like shake voice too. I don't know.
Nice.
Jack Gleason has mentioned in interviews that he plans to go back to school and maybe pursue a career in teaching after he's done with Game of Thrones. And he's a very talented actor, and I'm curious as to if you have plans to continue acting, because you're obviously very talented as well, or are you going to pursue other interests like dancing you mentioned, or theater, or perhaps a career in being a professor?
Did you intentionally ask this knowing that, what was it, a couple weeks ago the news came out that she would had quit her tutoring and stuff?
No, I did not know that. Please educate us.
I don't know a whole lot of the details, but just I don't know. I feel like maybe a week or two ago, and it might have even been, I don't even remember exactly where I saw it, but yeah, that she had decided to to stop even using a tutor, so not doing school or tutor. So I was just curious if that was if that had anything to do with your question, but obviously not.
No, I didn't know that. That's interesting, though. No, but let's hear her answer.
Well, I intend to stay in this industry for a very long time. That's what I love to do. I found acting and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I can't believe it was never a dream before, because it's just fantastic. And I'd obviously love to incorporate dance at some point, because that's what I originally set out to do. I feel like I kind of owe it to that, because from as young as I can remember, I've just wanted to dance. So I do want to do that. But yeah, it will always be in this kind of field. I'll never go off and do something else, because I'm not good at anything else. And I've been given the opportunity to pursue it and to get paid for it. So it's like, I can't let this go ever, really. And I hope people people still want me when this is over, because otherwise I'm screwed.
Not that I want her to not keep acting, but is 16 perhaps a little bit early to make the declaration of I'm not good at anything else?
No, that's probably a little early, but also I think that's she was talking about how she recognizes that this was an amazing opportunity, and she doesn't want to let it go. I mean, I was very impressed by the maturity of that answer.
No, I'm really kind of being facetious when I say it. It's just, it seemed like such a bold statement for, I can't imagine it kind of amused me.
Well, just because you and I didn't have enough talent in anything to make that kind of declaration at 16 doesn't mean there's other people in the world that can.
When I was 16, I believed that I was good at so many things.
You believed?
I hadn't yet discovered that I wasn't good at anything else yet. Well, anything. Forget the L's.
Database planning. You're good at that.
I'm adequate.
I don't know how the book fan base is, but
this annoying guy. This is the annoying guy, and I'm not worried about calling him out, because I know he doesn't listen to the podcast because he doesn't read the books. Guy drove me up a wall, man. But I was so nervous when he started asking his question. I was like, "Don't creep her out, please. Don't creep her out. Like, we've had such a good time so far. Don't send this all crashing." But he actually, to his credit, asked a decent question, even though I was really nervous.
All right, let's hear it.
TV fan base, the average is the favorite characters are Daenerys, Tyrion, and you. So I'm wondering how that affects you personally, knowing that you are one of the fan favorites of the TV show.
It doesn't feel like it at all, because I'm like a fan of the show as well, because there's so many other storylines, and I sit and watch it, and when I'll take season 3 premiere, for one. When everyone's getting out of the car, people are just screaming everyone's names, and it doesn't feel like people want you there more than anyone else. Not at all. It just feels. I don't know. I'm thrilled that Arya is such a fan favorite. It also means that it comes with a lot of pressure, and every year, there's more stuff to do and more people that you're going to upset, and it's just it is a lot of pressure, and sometimes it does get a little bit much. But Yeah, it doesn't feel like it at all. I'm never like, well, I'm a more popular character. Not at all, because, you know, you took any one of the characters away and it just wouldn't be the same. So.
That's interesting.
Wait, any one of the characters? She said take away any one of the characters, and I feel like there's at least one in particular character in the TV show that, well, has since been taken away, but I don't know that there would have been a lot of complaints if she had been taken away earlier in the...
Wait, who?
Oh, I think you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah. That was a very gracious answer by Maisie.
I will not name. No, I agree. I absolutely agree.
That has affected some of the other actors. I mean, Lena told me at sometimes at Comic-Con in a signing, when the 10 of us are sitting there signing posters, people would deliberately skip her because they hate Cersei so
Now I feel really bad.
It's weird. I've always wondered whether Jack Gleason gets abused because people do not like Joffrey, but he says he doesn't. So I'm glad to hear that because he's brilliant at that part.
Yeah, I've never heard from him if he gets like abused and stuff, but I've heard from lots of other people, and I see little memes online, and I'm like, yeah, that's funny, but oh, Jack. It's just so different, like, and it's a shame that he doesn't do more of these fan things because, you know, it'd be nice for you guys to get to know Jack as well, and yeah, no, he's just a really nice guy, so I think he's doing an amazing job. The whole world hates him. That's amazing. He's done a really good job, but you can't knock it. It's just a shame that people confuse the two between Jack and Joffrey.
Thank you so much for coming.
That's okay, not at all. That's a great time.
It's really awesome. Okay, indulge me in my super nerdy question. In some crazy, fantastic, fantasy story mixing universe, which Hogwarts house would Arya be sorted into?
Well, so when Potter first started, I was really young, so
I really liked the one guy in the crowd that was trying to get an applause train going. Like you get in yeah,
Yeah, the one guy that you don't know who it was.
Right.
It wasn't you at all, was it?
The one guy that was coming crystal clear because the mic definitely wasn't just sitting there in his shirt pocket. Okay.
I'm an avid fan, but I don't think I've watched them all. But I think Arya would be in Hufflepuff just because I love saying it.
Just the wave of disappointment just crashes down upon the crowd. Oh, it was awesome.
Just the most fun word to say. So whenever, and she'll be doing brilliant. So when they're 10 points to Hufflepuff, she'll be like, yay!
So who is your favorite character from the movie, the TV show?
I get asked this a lot, and I don't really know. I say different things all the time. Sometimes I say Daenerys because our characters are quite similar, and I think that she's kind of got everything that I would love, like nice clothes and cool hair. But at the same time, she's really ruthless and badass. So yeah, and but also there's so many characters that get Bronn that people choose really big characters, but sometimes these little cameo parts are just hilarious. And you saw in the last episode there, yeah, there's so many. It's so hard to pick a favorite, and yeah, I feel like I don't. The shame, I need to read the books because the shame with this show. The thing is with this show is that you don't get to know the characters well enough. I feel like there's not enough time to get to know these people. So yeah, that is a shame. But I've always said that I'll read the books when the show finishes because it's confusing enough as it is. Knowing, I get every year I'm so Mom, what happens to Arya this year? And then she says something, and then I get the scripts and it's completely different, and then I don't have a clue what's going on. So yeah, so it's hard enough as it is. So I think for now I'll stick with the series, and then I'll go back and read what really was supposed to happen to Arya.
So you mentioned nice clothes. Are you a little tired of having dirt put on your face?
Yeah, so it was really good. So series 2, I went into my costume fitter fitting and put on my costume from series 1, and they never give me a new costume. They just like alter it a little bit if I've grown. I don't grow at all, so I just have the same costume like the whole time. I've got like, actually no, I have 3 different costumes, but they're just all different like dirtinesses. So it's not, it doesn't really count. But I remember season 2, my costume fitting, I was like talking to Michelle Clapton, who like designs it all, and I was like, oh, I think maybe Ira should get a cape because she's going back north this year, so you know she needs to get warmer again because it's cold up there. And so we designed all these capes and stuff. I was like loving it. And it's the funniest thing, and then I managed to blag Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie all capes. We were all just like on set, and then Dave and Dan were like, yeah, we hate it. You know? So I worked so hard to get these capes, and then they were taken away. But yeah, I just want another costume. Like, it's not really fancy. Like, I don't want to dress because they're really uncomfortable. But just something new because it's like really old and it's like I've had this since forever.
So, in the books, Arya Stark
Wait, sorry,
has a
where
really...
are you?
I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. In the books, Arya has a really strong connection to Jon Snow. As far as character development in the first 2 seasons, who was your absolute favorite Stark to work with?
Favorite Stark to work with? Well, are you counting Jon Snow? Because he's not really a Stark. Do you well,
Whoa, spoilers? Is that a reveal?
I don't think so, since she hasn't even read the books.
Yeah, but she's sitting there right there with George. Maybe she knows something.
I don't know. I don't think that's a spoiler.
Okay.
But maybe.
No, I don't think it is. Okay, here we go.
Well, wait, is the person... Yeah, it would be Kit. Because, again, as I was saying, there's not enough time to get to know all of the characters and stuff, so I guess they wanted to show that bond more than... Like, Arya and Catelyn have never had a scene together, so she's desperately trying to get home, but you've never seen the bond between the mother and the daughter kind of thing. So I think they really wanted to get that strong bond across, and that scene was so much fun to shoot. Pardon?
Fun to work with?
Yeah. And he's just like always cracking jokes and stuff, and it was like one of my first times on set as well, so it's just really helpful and learning a lot from him. And then we had the dog as well, so it was a long day. Yeah, it was just a really lovely scene, and I never really get anything like none of these one-on-ones, these like, you know, heartfelt things anymore, because it's just batting them off.
I did kind of like her, like, I didn't ever think about this, but looking back, it makes complete sense. Like, she never actually got a scene with Michelle Fairley, with Catelyn. And so that's... I mean, except for like the very first episode where they're all in a group, all the Starks are together.
Yeah, definitely no like one-on-ones with her for sure.
Yeah, I also like hearing like the actors, and if you like watch any of the behind-the-scenes stuff, especially in the first season where they actually had dogs in place of the wolves for all the little direwolf pup scenes.
Mm-hmm.
How everyone's like, yeah, the dogs were great, but oh my gosh, just shooting with them is so expensive because it takes so much longer, and just like little tiny things, because no one's gonna say like, oh yeah, the cute dogs, they were just complete assholes, but you kind of hear like the actors say, yeah, and so the dog, it was a long day because, you know, and then they just try to kind of trail off. I've heard it 3 or 4 times now, either in like behind the scenes stuff or DVD commentary, and now Maisie Williams saying it. I just think that's kind of funny. So
yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of... We put all of the Arya and Ned stuff right at the beginning of the shoot, and I did loads of our one-on-one stuff, like the first things I'd ever shot. So it was, well, at the time, I mean, I didn't really know who he was. So I was like, yeah, but I was like 12, and I couldn't see Lord of the Rings, and so I was never like starstruck or anything, and so it was just Sean, wasn't it? So yeah, that was great fun, and those scenes, I look back and like, I don't know, I just wish I could do them again, and because they were so much fun, and at the time I was just having, you know, just coming to set every day, and I just wished I'd like, I don't know, just stopped and just didn't, I don't know, thought about it a bit more, I guess, because it's all gone now, and I can't do that again. Just strange. Yeah, and just watching it all back again is really, really odd. I haven't seen these since like they were aired 3 years ago, so God.
Along the same lines, and not talking about the actors, but like Arya and the characters themselves, who's like your favorite relationship with Arya, like family-wise or friendship-wise or like anything else? Who is your favorite relationship?
Well, it wasn't really a friendship, but like Arya and Tywin, I think that was. Yeah, like that was so much fun to do, and at the time, like as I was saying, I wish I just like stopped a bit more, and because at the time you kind of forget that it's going to be on television. You're just having a great time, and I never really thought about how people were going to react to it, and people actually really liked it, so that was nice. But yeah, and I learned so much from Charles Dance, and he's just phenomenal, and it just sucks that we don't get to work together again. And that's the thing, Arya's like the most well-traveled character because she's never in the same place for like more than 2 episodes. So she's like, I have so many different interactions with people, which is fantastic because I've met so many of the cast. Some people just doing scenes with the same people every season. So I'm so thrilled that I get to meet so many different people and work with so many different fantastic actors. But yeah, at the time it was just having a great time, and now I look back and I'm like, I wish I just treasured it more, but I enjoyed it. So.
And we should give credit here. I mean, I get a lot of credit for writing the books, and all of the credits all very well. But David Benioff and Dan Weiss have done such an amazing job of translating the books, but also adding additional material. All those scenes between Arya and Tywin are not in the books. There's something that David and Dan added, condensing. I mean, Arya is in Harrenhal in the books for quite a long time, but she's serving as a cupbearer to Bruce Bolton, not to Tywin Lannister. And there's a lot of other stuff going on there that David and Dan simplified. Putting you and Charles together in those scenes was just amazing. It was one of their best.
Thoughts on that?
I think that's interesting. I mean, I know as far as I'm, my feelings of the changes that occurred in the shows, that was definitely one of the things that I thought worked really well, and it made for some really cool, some really neat scenes. Plus, I mean, I don't know that it would have worked. I don't know that I would have liked it as much, if the casting of Tywin hadn't been as good as it was. But I think, particularly with Charles Dance playing Tywin, getting more Tywin in the show, and especially in some scenes like that, was a really, really good thing. And I like first. I think it's notable that George wasn't making those comments in response to somebody asking a question about those scenes. He made a point of, obviously Maisie brought up the scenes, but he didn't have to say anything. And I think that that's something of a testament to the fact that George really acknowledges that those scenes were a good add to the series.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me to, you heard Maisie earlier talk about how she hasn't read the books, and so what she gets about the character, she either gets from her mother talking about what's happening in the books, or what she gets mostly from the script, because the script doesn't necessarily match up with the book timeline or the exact events. And so for her, that was a huge. The interactions with Tywin was a huge time for the character, and it shows on screen, and so it makes sense if someone's asking about relationships, how in her mind and how she forms the character on screen. And arguably an actor gets to know a character just as good as anyone in the production of a TV show or a movie, maybe with the exception of the writer or somebody, I don't know. But it's so cool that she chose that relationship as one that was important to Arya, as she understands and portrays the character. And I thought that was really interesting because, some people that are, I'm a book fan, and that's not the way it happened in the book. But while it might cause some people to freak out because of how different it is, knowing that, okay, the show is separate, and just knowing how like the character of Arya that we like seeing on screen is the actress who's portraying her sees that as just a formative moment. And then hearing George kind of back it up and take the opportunity, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's also because, I mean, George working on TV shows before, he's got to know how difficult it is. And, I mean, there's times where he talks about characters not being like they were in the books. I mean, he's come out and said that Littlefinger is probably the most different out of any of the characters. And so it's cool to, I think we can trust George in that extent too. I'm sure he's going to be beholden to HBO in some ways, but I think we can trust him too when he says things like, hey, I thought this change was really cool, or they made a really cool decision when they had to compress something. This is the result of it. So,
right. Well, and especially when it's done, like I was saying, in a context like that of, it's not somebody asking him, what do you think of what HBO did to this with this scene? That he really made a point of, like he said it in a response to just that scene coming up, and so to me that speaks a little more to his true feelings about the scene as opposed to, being any kind of mouthpiece or whatever for HBO.
Yeah. We got another 10 minutes or so of the Maisie Q&A. Do you want to keep going?
And then what do you have?
I have some George Q&A after that. And so, I mean, I can probably cut out some of the empty space and stuff in afterwards or something, or I can just keep. So you want to keep going?
Yeah.
All right.
Game of Thrones, because it's obviously such a massive shoot and we've got so many different things going on. Sorry, I'm going to take my earrings out. They're really painful. Yeah, because there's so many different things going on at once. There's never time to rehearse. You only ever get the rehearsal at the beginning of the day before you shoot. But David Nutter, who directed those 2 episodes, gave us the time to rehearse and took us aside on weekends and after we were shooting on days and stuff, and we had big, long rehearsals, which I found really, really beneficial because long scenes like that were daunting anyway. You're going to forget something, and there's dialogue at the end, but you've got all this movement to do beforehand, and the amount of times that I spilled that water a little bit, but then spilled it far too much, and it goes all over Aidan Gillen, and I'm really embarrassed. I'm just so it was just nice to have these rehearsals to get familiar with all the actions and things, and because it was still daunting. I was only 13, and it was still, kind of scary. You've got 2 adults on set, and they both know what they're doing, and it was a bit scary. So it was nice that he took that time aside, and we had all these little markings on the floor of I had numbers 1 to 8 of where I would go on the floor, and we set up the table when we were in the rehearsal room, and then when I got in, he put all the numbers down on set as well where I'd go. So just really, really helpful, and there's things like that on Game of Thrones that really just separate it from other shoots, because they do, HBO are a really great place to work for. They do give you, time, and I think it was just really helpful for those episodes anyway.
With the story we started it with in mind, what is the most terrifying experience during production that you've had?
The guy that asked that question was hammered. I talked to him out in the lobby, and I was like, damn, dude, how did you get this drunk? It took me forever to stand in line for beer. Did you pregame the theater experience? And he got these were 2 nervous moments for me on behalf of other people, and one was when awkward, terrible guy got to answer a question, wasn't that bad, and then this guy who was so hammered, or maybe I don't know, maybe he's high. I don't know. I don't do the drugs, Brian, so it's hard for me to tell. So hammered.
Yeah. The most. I don't know. I think I find when I know my dialogue and I know what I'm going to say and stuff like that, I find that really fun, and I love quick dialogue between characters and things like that. So, but I find it very daunting before I'm actually on set and I've done my first take, fluffing lines and stuff like that, and I get really nervous about it. And I know I'm fine, I know I can do it, but it's just getting that first take out the way. Just because it's the start of the day and everyone's fresh and everyone's got their eyes focused, and and you're just so worried about that first one that you're going to do. But I really love dialogue, but it is the most daunting thing ever. You know, some of the characters have masses and masses of dialogue, like all the throne room scenes, like, you know, heavy dialogue-y, which is fantastic, but it would just freak me out so much. So whenever I see a paragraph with Arya above it, I'm just like freaking out. Like, you know, and it's always fine when I get there, but it's just that initial first take that, you know, everyone.
I totally interpreted his question as like more of a stunt-based thing, like what is the most terrifying experience you've had, like on Game of Thrones, meaning like, oh, I had to do this in a battle scene, or I had to do this in a big crowd scene. I mean, maybe that was just me, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he did intend it that way, but it also wouldn't surprise me if, you know, so many of these stunt things and stuff and everything, like, they look so... like potentially scary or whatever, and you know, when you're watching it on TV, but you know, if the reality is that none of those stunts are actually that scary or whatever, then I could see why she wouldn't jump to that. You know?
Where it doesn't even enter into her mind. And I think that's also a thing when it's very much during the Q&A here, and also when I was listening to the Breaking Bad Insider podcast, not to promote another podcast on this podcast, but that's a great podcast if you like Breaking Bad or just want to know more about like behind the scenes stuff and TV shows and stuff. It's so often, especially with Game of Thrones, like I get wrapped up in the fantasy of it, like in the product, in seeing the visual element of the book series I love, and kind of forget that it's a job for people, and they approach it like a job. And so when you're talking about the most terrifying element, someone was asking you what's the most terrifying element of your job, you would probably respond with something similar, like being unprepared for a meeting or being nervous about a big presentation. And that's, like, to me, what is kind of the equivalent that she says here. And just like the way she kind of approaches it, there's not the big set piece, the big battle, the big like fantastic element to, oh, this was terrifying, or like it was something kind of, I don't want to say mundane, but it's just intrinsic to the job. And I thought that was really interesting because it kind of, it's that opportunity of, if you want to be kind of let into, you know, like kind of see behind the curtain of one of the things you like a TV show, you know, it's the benefit of that is you do get some of that, you do sometimes get some of that magic or whatever taken away because you see how it's all done, and you see that there's, you know, wires and special effects and stuff. But the cool thing is you get to see the human element and how people actually make this thing happen. So I thought that was really kind of an interesting answer to a question from somebody that could barely get the words out.
Right.
It doesn't matter, you know, everyone gets nervous. Like, it doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are, everyone always gets nervous. It's never, you know, and if anyone ever looks confident, they're just faking it completely. Just because, like, you know, it's we're all the same. Like, there's no special way around it. Everyone's just like me now, babbling on.
A lot of the cast members, and of course the British theatrical tradition, people grow up doing a lot of Shakespeare. Do you have any aspirations to do Shakespeare?
From so many people on the cast who've done Shakespeare and do plays and stuff, they've said, like, I hated Shakespeare until I started doing Shakespeare, and for me, I haven't started doing Shakespeare yet. But it's because at school it's just shoved down your throat, it's just force-fed to you, and it's not a pleasant experience at all. So at the moment, no. But that doesn't mean it won't be, like, in the future, not at all. It's just at the moment I've got other interests and stuff that are taking the path. But I'll never say no to anything. Like, I'm always open to trying things because I never even knew I would enjoy acting until all of a sudden there was a camera in front of me and I was really having a great time. So you never know what you enjoy until you've given it a good shot. So I'll never say I'll never do Shakespeare.
You'd make a great puck in Midsummer Night's Dream.
I actually know that one because we went to watch this like little play of it when I was like 7. So thank you.
Brian, are you familiar with the Midsummer Night's Dream?
It's been a long, long time.
Do you know the character they're talking about?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's just been a really long time. Yeah.
So do you agree or disagree?
I mean, I can see it from what I remember.
Okay. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, you're kind of illiterate.
That's right.
All right, we're gonna wind up here. A few more questions, and then we'll move Maisie out to sign some things. We'll take 3 more questions.
It is hot.
Maisie, it's really been a treat to watch you grow up over the course of the series so far, and you're such a fan favorite that I'm worried that George is going to kill you off someday before the thing is all the way over.
Okay, there is definitely a visual element to this question, because if you could see the look of, I've never seen George laugh harder. He never smiled bigger at any point of the event than at this question. He could not, entire red face, whole body laugh, and I was like, oh god, oh god.
Uh-oh, is she gonna die?
I don't know. It's so funny.
Book 6, that's my prediction.
Book 6, you're calling it?
I'm calling it based on what you're reporting of this incident.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I don't know, man. Maybe this is insider information. Maybe I'm, delivering breaking news here.
Maybe he just wrote that, right before...
He was just, slowly sipping his cup of coffee, writing the death of Arya, and just, hit the save button on his old... What does he write on? An old, DOS machine or something, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then, closed it down, walked out of his study, and then came right to the theater to meet Maisie.
Yep.
And then this question gets asked.
I've always had... It was Aria's going to be fine. And then one day I was like, no, maybe she's not going to be fine. And then I have this thing, if Arya does die, then it's going to be a whole episode of my death. But HBO just would not allow it, so that one's gone.
So in the first season, part of your dance training is to catch cats, and I've always wondered, did you ever actually catch one of the cats?
I did. So we were in Malta, and we were doing that scene, and it was taking a long time because the cat was being disobedient. It was a cat, it wasn't a but yeah, and so the director, Alan, was it Alan?
Alan Taylor.
No, it wasn't Alan Taylor, it was a different one. Anyway, sorry, I forgot his name. Anyway, he was saying, oh, Maisie, just if you're gonna catch the cat, because it was looking like I was trying to not catch the cat. He was like, just go for it. And I said, what if I catch the cat? He said, well, you won't, because it'll run away and it'll be scared of you. I said, okay, it'll be fine. So I sneak up, and then I go in and I pick up the cat. And the cat's just there meow. And everyone's sniggering and stuff, and Alan's like, I don't know if it's Alan. It's so embarrassing. Anyway, the director's like, I'm like, well, you said to catch the cat. I did try to warn you. But yeah, animals just love me.
Last question.
Yeah, back here.
Hi. You seem like you have a very good head on your shoulders, and I really appreciate that. Do you ever find it hard to kind of step away from, being so well known and loved by everyone? You're in a room of 125 strangers, and we all love you and everything. Do you ever find it hard to step away from that and keep a clear head?
Yeah. So I'm going home on Thursday, and I'll arrive home on Friday, and it's going to be the hardest week ever, because it's just so hard to get back to reality. And it's not that I've got my feet off the ground or anything, it's just a very strange lifestyle, and one that my family are not used to at all. And it's everyone from where I live is just completely shocked that that this could happen to just a normal girl. And I don't mean to sound all cliche and this is my dream forever, and it's not what I mean. It's just the strangest scenario ever, and it is odd, and I do really enjoy it, because you've got to take these opportunities, and you've got to enjoy yourself. So I never feel bad for having a great time at the Golden Globes or things like that, because it's a great opportunity, and this may never come again. So you've got to grab everything, but at the same time it is very hard to fit back into a normal routine. And actually, there's not much of a routine when I do go home. There's college and things like that, but when you're out here, it's like, okay, you've got a meeting today, and then you're going to do this, and then, like, at the beginning of the night, George said everything that we're going to do for the evening, and then, you know, everything goes to plan, and then you get home, and it's like, I don't need to be anywhere. It's like, it's this really odd feeling. You're like in limbo, where you don't really fit anywhere. You're not, you know, in America doing all the acting thing, and you're not at college because no one's seen you for a month, and they've all started their new friendships. So you're kind of in this weird limbo where, you know, you want to get back in to see your family and some friends and stuff, but it's just really, really odd, and I can't explain it, and it's never going to get easier. But it's just strange, but it is so worth it. Like, for these kind of things, I just have a fantastic time, and I'm so glad that you guys have me here, and yeah, it's just great.
Okay, so there's the Maisie Q&A. It's really great. Like, I think she did a really good job. That's got to be, I mean, that was almost like 40 minutes of her just basically standing up there on stage with George R.R. Martin answering questions. So very gracious and awesome. So it was very, very cool. You want to take a break, and then we'll come back and maybe do play some clips from the George Q&A.
And we're back.
Oh my gosh, it's so loud. Oh my God, my ears. Don't do that anymore.
Just turn down your headphones.
No, it's already very precariously balanced, this whole thing. I'm amazed that we're actually working.
Well, you can turn your headphone down up there.
Oh, all right, hold on. Oh shit. Okay, yeah, so we're back now, and we'll go through. Oh, no, I don't need to say that, because then it seems like we've taken a break, like a wacky radio show.
So we just took a break, because we said we were going to take a break, and then we took a break.
All right, we're going to go through the George R.R. Martin Q&A. So,
wait, I thought you said George Martin TNA. I'm much less excited now.
No, we'll try to muster up some excitement, damn it. There's something on this microphone, and it's like...
Is that a pubic hair?
No, it might be. It feels like there's a hair on it, and it's like really bothering me. So I'll just like feel it like on my face or on my lip, and
that's disgusting.
It really is. All right, here we go. Yeah, basically I made a point to record the Maisie Q&A, but I actually kind of forgot to record all of the George Q&A because it was a little different. At this point, Maisie was out signing autographs, and they were basically... George was up there emceeing it and just basically sending people out by row, because the lobby of the theater was really cool, but it was also really, really small. If you had 20 or 30 people in the lobby all at once, you wouldn't be able to move around. That's how small it is. And so he basically grabbed 15 people at a time, about one row in the theater, and sent them back to go and meet Maisie and get stuff signed or whatever. So in the meantime, he would just he would be basically between doing raffles, because they had a couple items that he was raffling off, either signed copies of books or some other Game of Thrones swag. There were a couple stuffed little dire wolves that they were raffling off, and also taking Q&A. And so I was trying not to just record. If I was just recording the whole thing, I guess I could have done it and just gone back and edited it all down and everything, but I didn't want to do that. I was just trying to catch questions, and then I'd forget and be like, oh, holy shit, this is a good question, I should record it. And he starts off by answering a question about something regarding Albuquerque and Breaking Bad that I like, because I'm a big fan of the show. So,
did the people not realize that y'all were in Santa Fe?
Yeah, but I mean, Albuquerque's really close. I don't remember what the question was, but it was something about Breaking Bad. So,
all right.
Actually, I love the Breaking Bad guys. That's a great show, and it was an amazing show. Shot here, right here in New Mexico. So, yes.
How was your experience in Essaouira in Morocco?
In Roswell?
No, Essaouira, the town with the castle on the coast of Morocco.
Oh, I wasn't there for that, but they did well. I was in Morocco when we shot at Ouarzazate, and of course I visited Marrakesh and Casablanca when I was in Morocco. Morocco's an amazing place. If you haven't been there, and you really want to see an exotic country that's, not like the United States, go to Marrakesh. Particularly, go to Morocco, go to Marrakesh. Casablanca was a little disappointing. Right. They do have a Rick's Cafe American, but it's a tourist trap. But Marrakesh is just an amazing place. Let me.
Brian, is that a reference to the movie Casablanca?
That is.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. Rick's Cafe is... Or Rick's. It's like a bar or whatever. That's like the main location in Casablanca.
Okay.
That's where the guy plays piano named Sam, and they...
Is that where Play It Again, Sam comes from?
Well, yeah, although they never actually say Play It Again, Sam in the movie, but it's like a false quote from the movie. Kind of like Luke, I am your father.
Oh, yeah.
That was never actually said.
Yeah, he just said, I am your father.
Yeah. And there's a couple of... Elementary, My Dear Watson, was never actually said in any of the Sherlock Holmes books.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, this sort of question happened actually a couple times where people were making like references to very, very specific shooting locations, and I consider myself a pretty big fan of the show, and I didn't know a lot of these off the top of my head. I don't know if it's like an honest question of a location they really like and have a connection to, or some of them felt a little like let me reference how much I know about the show and try to like show my like street cred or something. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I'm just being cynical or not, but
I know what you mean.
Okay, we'll see what the next question is.
Okay, who has something else? Yes. Yeah, you. At where? Okay. Do you still want to be a writer? Okay, good. Are you writing? Good. Well, that's the main thing. Write every day. I meet a lot of people say they want to be a writer, and they're going to get around to it one of these days. But it's something you have to do every day, and a lot of what you write, especially in the beginning, will be crap. But the more you write, the less it will be crap, and it'll get better, and it'll get marginally good, and then there'll be some good stuff, and eventually you'll get there. But it's a long process, except for the occasional rare person who's just brilliant at the age of 12. But for most people, it's a learning process, and it's one for persistence.
Did you say, hey George, do you want to be an author of a 7-book series? Because if you do, then you should be writing.
No, I didn't
right
say
now.
that. No one took the opportunity to nut kick him on not getting anything done. It was funny. I was talking to one of our friends that's a big fan of the books, and I was extolling the virtues of the Duncan Egg novellas to her, and let her borrow all the different collections and everything so she could read them. And I was also talking to her about The Princess and the Queen, and I was like, it's so good. Like these, I really enjoy these. You should really read them. I think you get a kick out of them. But she came back with the same thing. But why isn't he writing the next book? And so I was very proud. Like there were some points in the crowd. There were some parts where, like when I was standing in line, the annoying guy, I was like, no, why are you? This is the image of kind of like the nerdy fandom that like is bad. Why are you propagating this? But the other thing of nerd rage, there wasn't anyone really nerd raging. Everybody was very respectful, and no one said, so when's the next book coming out? Like, people were asking him stuff about the next book, but it was more in reference to, so is this going to happen? Or like, and he's like, I mean, and he was really deftly like kind of turning those questions away, but no one asked like, why aren't you writing the book now? Like,
yeah, that's good.
I mean, if you think about it, if writing's like a job, because what he was kind of talking about, and if you actually do research or ever hear anything about, how do I become a writer, or really any sort of, I really think it pertains to any sort of creative hobby or pastime or endeavor, is you have to spend time doing it. And if you're doing that and being persistent and planning on it, you're saying, I'm going to write this from here to here, or I'm going to write, it doesn't matter if I'm inspired or not. I just need to write. I need to write something. And maybe I'm not writing dialogue. Maybe I'm laying out plot. Maybe I'm fleshing out characters' backstory or something. But I'm doing something to help further the goal of writing a product, a screenplay, a script, whatever. And so with that, if you're treating it like a job in that respect of I'm going to write from here to here and it doesn't matter what I write as long as I'm doing something, then damn it, you're going to need a break. You don't work, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
And so if you're treating it like a job, if you're a career writer, I'm sure there's times when you don't want to write. So anyway, I'm Team George on this one. I support George.
No, I agree. I was just making jokes. And if you don't like it out there, you can hashtag jokes on Twitter.
Persisted it, but someone once told me, writing is not a profession that you choose. It kind of chooses you. It's like you always got stories inside you that you want to tell. You always got characters whispering. It's not that different from being crazy. If you hear voices inside your head, you're either a dangerous schizophrenic or a writer. So hopefully, we are the writers here. So let's do that row. Well, I'll answer your question and then we'll let your row go. Yeah.
Outside of the Song of Ice and Fire series, which of your other work would you first recommend?
To most people, I'd recommend Fever Dream, my Vampire Steamboat novel. I have a great affection for Armageddon Rag, the novel that almost destroyed my career, but it really speaks to a particular subset of people of my generation. It's a boomer novel. It's about the 60s and the rock and roll of our generation and all that. And people of my generation tend to love it. People of other generations tend to say, what the hell? But Fever Dream was probably my most successful book. And it's one that I hope to have made into a movie soon.
I think that was pretty cool. I don't know if I'd heard that he was trying to get it option for a movie.
I can't remember if that's the one that I remember hearing about.
I also, I'm trying to console myself knowing that I'll never say something is quite as esoteric, cool, and insane as my Vampire Steamboat novel. Like, that's just... No, I'm really...
Never say never.
That's true. No, I'm really intrigued by that book. I want to read it just because it sounds kind of crazy. So...
Yeah. Yes.
How do you, or who and how do you pick the movies that you play here?
Well, John Bowman, who is our manager, books them. It's a very complicated process. It's been a vast education for me since I bought this place. You have to decide what movie you're going to play, and then you have to find out which distributor has it and how much they want for it, and whether they're willing to let you have it or not. A lot of movies we can't get simply because Regal has them all locked up. The big movies. Sometimes we want a movie and the CCA wants a movie and the screen wants a movie, and then we have to. The distributor gets to decide who actually gets that movie. So it's complicated, Briefly, we could probably get any old movie that we want. Like we showed a couple weeks ago, we showed Footlight Parade and Roberta, the wonderful 1930s black and white musicals. Those are pretty easy to get. But if you have a new movie that's coming out in a couple months or a couple weeks, you have to book it ahead of time. But that's why I pay John the big bucks. He handles all of that here. And Jeff, who's our assistant manager, assists him in that and has also done some booking. So, but we have a suggestion box in the front. So if there are movies you would like to suggest, write them down and put them in the suggestion box. We get a lot of suggestions. We'll do one. Our goal. We have several goals. I mean, I want the Jean Cocteau to be a very eclectic place, to show a lot of different kinds of movies for a lot of different parts of the community. Being a small theater, we can't get the big box office hits mostly. We get art house movies like the CCA and the Screen does. So that's one constituency, the art house constituency. I'm also a fan of old movies, so I love to show the old black and white movies. We're going to show some silent movies. We showed over Halloween Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, which got a great turnout. I'm a science fiction fantasy guy, so I like to show that. But if you see us showing a movie that you like, or it's the type that you like, come to the damn movies and support it. I mean, it's been an education. We've tried like a half dozen martial arts movies, and basically no one has come to see them. So we're not going to be showing a lot of martial arts movies here because we don't like running movies when there are two people in the auditorium. It loses us a lot of money. So, in some senses, we're competing. A little neighborhood movie theater like this, and this is your neighborhood movie theater. We're competing with the CCA and the Screen and Regal with their big financial muscles and their 14 screens and all that. But really, what we're competing with is Netflix. Netflix is giving hell to all movie theaters, and all independent movie theaters are closing all around the country because people would say, well, I can just get it streaming on Netflix and watch it on my computer. And you can do that, and that's the choice that the modern consumer has. It's not 1930 anymore. It's not even 1975 anymore. But for me, I would much rather watch something like Game of Thrones on this 16-foot screen than I would watch it on my home television set, and I'd certainly much watch it on my television set than I'd watch it streaming on my computer or on my iPhone. So if you feel the same way, come to the movies, come to all the movies, come to the CCA, and come to the screen, and even come to Regal. Support your local movie theaters.
There were like the response there was pretty good. Just a lot of people are still being excused and everything at this point to go to the lobby. So I thought that was interesting, calling out Netflix and stuff, and it's one of those weird things because there's a certain charm to going out and seeing a show in a movie theater like that, but it is smaller. Like you mentioned, you heard him mention a 16-foot screen. It's not a giant place. It's not a giant screen, but there is a certain charm to it, and there's also something cool about watching the kind of community experience to watching a movie. And Brian, you go see a lot of movies, like in the theater. What are your thoughts on some of the stuff he was talking about?
I don't actually really go to that many movies anymore.
Oh. Why? Do you watch them all on Netflix?
No. A lot of it for me, it's just that I find that other than there's a few movies each year that I'm really into seeing, but part of it really is, quite frankly, that the TV format is just much more interesting to me, whether it's cable TV shows or even some network shows, is what a lot of it comes down to. But then the other part is convenience. I mean, if I do end up, whether it's Netflix or DVD or whatever, Blu-ray, it's about being able to do that on whatever timetable, I'm wanting to do that. And it's not like, I remember there was a time in the past, and I think part of it is just like being younger, being in a different place in life where it was really important to see movies when they were new and fresh. But as you get older, you kind of start realizing, if I wait that 6 months and watch it at home on my own schedule, cheaper, I'm not really going to miss out on all that much.
Yeah.
There's some movies I go see, but and I didn't actually take it as much as George Martin was calling it out. I think part of it was just, he likes the theater experience, and it's a competitor to him.
Yeah. Well, I think it is interesting because I think he's doing certain things kind of well, in the sense of he's not trying to compete with Netflix by showing like a popular movie. He's trying to show stuff that's art house. He's trying to show stuff that's limited release or something that hasn't gotten a broad or like a U.S. release at all. And so in that way, showing like old movies and stuff like that, I think that's a really good idea because, well, then you're not competing with Netflix. You don't have let's just, instead of going and watching this new comedy that's coming out this week, let's stay and watch an old comedy. You're getting like a singular experience, something you just can't get at a normal theater. Now,
except for, when you compare it to Netflix, that's what is available to a large extent on Netflix or other, streaming services, is that you can get a lot of the old classics. Even Hulu has a bunch, older movies, maybe not classics, but older movies.
Yeah.
Like in some of the, so
I gotta be honest, like a little bit, I'm still learning about Netflix because I was really late to the Netflix party. So I basically got it for TV shows, and I haven't really used to watch a whole lot of movies, but I do have a number of documentaries in my queue and stuff like that. So
yeah, but no, I didn't take it as much calling out. I think it was more, part of it is really about selling the experience, and so for some people, the theater that theater experience is going to be a draw. And I get like selling that and saying, hey, look, you know, there's certain movies, there's certain things that are going to be a lot more fun to go see in that situation.
I do want to actually play. I was looking for a trailer that he showed for The Last Unicorn, which was kind of amazing. Like the trailer itself was amazing. The showing, by the time this podcast gets out, the Last Unicorn showing will already be would have already happened. But I still want to play the trailer because I thought it was pretty awesome, and the crowd reaction was pretty awesome too. So we've got a few minutes left on this one. I got a couple other clips that might have something decent in it, so we'll keep listening.
Boy, I would love to have Bernard Cornwell come here. I love Bernard Beaker.
I think this is the part where I was walking away.
Everybody loves the direwolves and their relationship with the Stark children. I don't want anybody to take that to think a wolf would make a good pet, because the Candy Kitchen, the Wild Spirit Sanctuary, is really a result of that. Is too many people thinking a wolf would make a good pet or a wolf dog would make a good pet, and they don't. They can be trained, but they're not tamed. They're still wild animals, and they're big, as you saw. They're a handful. I mean, wolves belong in the wild or in a place like the Wild Spirit where they can be taken care of. And wolf dogs, you know, they're amazing animals, but the wolf by himself is fairly shy. He relates to his pack, and despite all the horror stories of the big bad wolf and things like that in the woods, they tend to stay clear of man. They're shy of man. They're a little afraid of man. Dogs have no fear of man. So when you breed a wolf with a dog, you get, you know, the natural wild animal instincts of a wolf with the dog's lack of fear of men. And that can be a dangerous combination. A lot of people who have wolf dogs as pets have them for a year or two, and then they get real big and they get hard to handle, and suddenly they don't want them anymore. But thankfully there are people like the Wild Spirit Wolf Sanctuary to help them out and to give a home for these beautiful and wonderful and smart animals who deserve better. But, you know, I like lions too, but I don't want to adopt one as my pet. So, yes, are we ready for another row here? Okay, let's do that row here. That would be 4, is it? Or you guys don't want to go? I don't know. Who wants to go? Go.
Can I ask a question before I go?
Yes.
Sorry for all the random punctuated laughter that's coming through crystal clear because the recorder was right near my face.
Yeah.
Police may not allow this answer, but will the depiction of Joffrey's wedding be in the next season?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
That question annoyed me because, of course it is. It has to be. How are you not going to have that in there?
I mean, I guess they could resort events.
It has to be in there. And I think, like, there's been enough, if you follow anything like Winter is Coming or anything, I think there's been enough leaks or enough just loose talk to know that that's going to happen.
Well, I agree that there's been enough. I mean, everything that we've heard is that it is in there. I'm just, and so that part annoys me. But I'm saying, like, if you're just saying from a chronology standpoint, if you're making the argument it has to be in there, I mean, technically they could shift things and have it appear later. I think it would be a bad choice, but
no, I think what bugs me is, like, you have a chance to ask the author a question and you're going to ask him, like, what's going to be in the show next season? Like, Google it. Come on. Like, it was annoying to me.
I understand.
I'm still annoyed. It's dumb. It's a dumb question.
I look forward to it.
So,
I'm really sorry. I don't know what I was doing at this point. I must have been, like, just I had the phone in my shirt pocket. I just must have been, like, tapping it or moving around or something.
I got a question.
yes.
How can I get you to sign a book for me?
Did you bring the book?
I did.
Okay, bring it up here. I'll sign it.
Oh, you're awesome.
We have books out there that are already signed, by the way.
Oh, never mind. I remember. This was right before I got him to sign something. I don't know why I was recording. This is at the very end of the evening. I already passed most of the other Q&A. So I don't remember if I was recording this whole thing, so I might actually have recorded my interaction with him. So I haven't listened to this audio either.
I like that you mock other people's questions and yet conveniently didn't record your question.
I will. No, I remember it, and I'm going to like.
You can tell us.
I will recreate
you can
it.
Make all kinds of claims about what you asked him. In reality, you may have asked him you may have asked him just as stupid of a question as is Joffrey's wedding in the next season.
Okay, let's see if I recorded me asking George for an autograph.
If most of you want to have a signed book by me, you can just buy one on your way out.
It's a good salesman there. Hey, man, he's got a theater to support, and
did you ask him to sign your boob?
Just started unbuttoning my shirt.
See what you started?
Yeah, so as soon as this one guy asked, like, everybody that's left there, maybe like a dozen people left, stood up and like had the page like open and ready to go.
Amazing.
Rustling as panicky Travis hurries to the front of the... See if we get Shake voice in here, too.
I remember a few years ago in Belfast, Maisie signed her first signature. You could read her name, and she had a little heart over the...
This was a great exhibit, by the way.
It was. They did a terrific job with that.
Okay, so what do I do at this point? Like, should I keep playing this? Because I obviously left the recorder on as I was walking out of the theater. So
let's just see. You can go back and edit this.
I could. Oh, and what I had him sign, I brought the... if you remember from Brian and I's other podcast we did on the George R.R. Martin exhibit Deeper Than Swords at Texas A&M, the book, the little pamphlet, the bound book about the exhibit, I took that with me and got that signed. And so it was one of those, it was actually kind of a funny moment because I had borrowed a pen from, I think it was George's assistant, to have him sign the cover of the book. Because the cover of the book's black, and she gave me the silver pen. I was like, that'd be really awesome. Well, when he was set up on the stage, he was just signing stuff with the pen that he had in his hand, which was a black pen. And so I like to put this in the long line of examples of that non-thinking, panicky Travis actually makes better decisions than like carefully thought out and planned Travis. Is that I was like, okay, he's going to sign with this pen. It's going to be at the top cover of the book. It'd be really awesome. And I'm walking up there and I see that he's just signing because there's people in line. He wants to get through it. He's just signing that with the pen he has in his hand. He's not taking a new pen or anything like that. So I'm like, and then like the person in front of me is going, and I'm like, I just like open the book and have him sign the inside cover. No idea at the time, but when I actually got it back and looked at it, and I didn't actually get it back and look at it till I was back in Dallas. Like I just put it in my bag and walked out of the theater and left and everything, and didn't unpack everything until I got home. He actually signed the inside cover of the book has a quote, and it says that the reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. And I was like, he signed like right underneath the quote that's on the inside cover of the Deeper Than Swords exhibit pamphlet. And I was like, that's awesome. Like I didn't even have that idea.
Yeah,
like,
that's really cool.
I didn't plan that at all. And I was like, man, I'm really, really glad that happened. And if I would have actually had him sign the way I wanted to sign, it kind of would have sucked.
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't have sucked. It still would have been really cool, but I think that's a lot cooler. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so stuff that I forgot to record was me asking. There were two, I thought, really funny, really good questions that would have been great to have on the podcast, but I wasn't recording. One of those questions was mine, because I ask good questions. I asked him, hey, Mr. George R.R. Martin, sir, out of all the projects you've recently been involved in, I think I actually said you've been involved recently in a lot of projects, most recently Princess and the Queen, which was really good, because I just read it like the day before. And I was like, which one of these has been your favorite? And I almost added as a tagline, this isn't a trick question, I promise, because I really have enjoyed all his extra stuff. And it was really cool. He went on about, he mentioned Princess and the Queen. He actually didn't mention the Dunk and Egg novels. What he mentioned was A World of Ice and Fire. And he said, I'm doing this thing with the people that run the, Westeros.org, Elio and Linda, and it's taken longer than he expected, but he's basically talking about how much he's enjoying writing stuff for that and helping with that project. And one of the funny things that he said is like, it's fun for me to go back and flesh out all the history, but I probably do more than I should. He's like, I probably I write too much or get too involved in this. Like, I don't think the history of the island of Ib or the Ibonese people, I think that's what he said, will ever really play a part in any of the major stories, but it's kind of fun to write about them and their cultures and their histories. And I was like, and again, it goes back to seeing him really energized about the stuff he's working on. Okay, we'll just keep writing. Like, as long as you're writing and being creative, that's better than feeling like you have this huge weight of this 7-book series that you just can't seem to make headway on. We'll write something else and then get all the creative juices flowing and then go back to the series.
Right. Well, and to me, like, there's a lot to be said for he's still existing in the world, and it's still it's not as if when he works on those other projects that it's like he's grown tired of Westeros and doesn't want to write those stories anymore. It's that, it's that he's so invested in the universe, so invested in the world, that it's, fleshing out. And so, and I can't help but believe it's all, in the right trajectory. It's just not
Well, one thing also, and after he answered that question, he kind of went on to talk about The Princess and the Queen and how much he enjoyed writing that. And I didn't know this. I actually just heard one of the last podcasts, I think it was actually on the Princess and the Queen podcast, where Ashley mentioned that the size of the book originally, that she had heard that, that used to be like 90,000 pages or something, or 90,000 words. 90,000 pages would be an encyclopedia. No, but like the first I actually heard of it was from George. Like when I asked the question, he actually said, "Yeah, Princess and the Queen." When he was talking about like diving too much and writing too much about it, he said, "Yeah, originally the version in the book was in Dangerous Women was 30,000 words, and he had originally wrote 80,000, and his editor like basically worked with him to cut it down so much to 30,000."
Wow.
So I don't know. I think I've heard talk of a full version coming out at some point, or maybe coming out for A World of Ice and Fire, or at some point we'll get like the full version of it. And I was just like, man, that's like crazy, because you wonder how much when we see battles, or you could tell, like, he tells the story, and spoilers for The Princess and the Queen. He tells a story of like a gigantic civil war, like in a short story or novella like format. And I kind of wonder what if you could tell like the story of Robert's Rebellion like that, or if you could tell like the story that we're seeing now in detail right now, like with the North and everything that's happening now with Cersei and all that craziness that's happening right now in the books. Like if you could tell that in the same format, where it's just like boom, 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 like more narrative, like this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and what that would look like. Mm-hmm. Or the alternate version of what the 80,000 words is like dipping its toe into the water of, no, not just boom, 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 narrative, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, but a lot of detail and getting into the minds of various characters or something. Right. I don't know, I thought that was really interesting. So, yay for me. Good question. The other question, which I thought was really funny, and this is a good question. Like, it's kind of silly, but you have a chance to ask the author something. Somebody asked him if he had seen the episode that South Park did that was like kind of parodying him or poking fun at him on Game of Thrones, or the show Game of Thrones. Uh-huh. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Okay, I did. And George says, no, I haven't, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to or not, because half of my friends told me I have to watch it, and half of my friends told me I should not watch it at all. And if you haven't watched it, it's not really a direct parody. It's kind of more of a parody of like a lot of fantasy elements, and then South Park basically did 3 episodes, and they're kind of basically the groups of kids like basically are fighting over which new video game console they're going to get. Uh-huh. And it all takes place in a mall. And there are a couple funny jokes that are worth repeating here. One of which is like they bring George R.R. Martin to cut the ribbon to open the mall the day before Christmas it's Black Friday. Sorry. But he goes and he shows up to cut the ribbon and then announces that there's going to be a delay and they're going to push Black Friday back like a week. And they keep pushing like the opening day of the mall back. So I thought that was funny. But then at one point, and I don't even remember why this was necessary for the episode, but one of the kids goes and visits George R. R. Martin in Santa Fe. And when the kids show up, he is obsessed with wieners. Like, he's describing, like, oh, yeah, I'm working on my novel or something, and he's reading them passages, and it's just like these very graphic depictions of wieners. And, you know, because I guess it's the play on, like, you know, some of the sex or, like, right. Some of the in-depth descriptions or not whatnot. So, anyway, I tell you that to say something else, and that's his reaction, because he says, yeah, some of my friends tell me to watch it, some of my friends say there's no way I should ever watch it. And then it's kind of a pause. He goes, and I can't believe I wasn't recording on this. There's a pause, and he goes, but I don't understand, like, why they think I'm obsessed with weenies. And then they, like, the Rube loses it. He's like, there's not many weenies in Game of Thrones. That's not what it's about. Boobies. We're a show about boobies. It's like, that's amazing. And then I looked at it. I was like, oh, I had to be recording. And I wasn't.
Travis.
It was awesome. Have you heard the song, though?
The what song?
The song from South Park?
No.
Okay, I'll play that for you.
Party salty, wiener wieners, nice and soft, non-erect wieners, flopping wieners, flopping wieners, dangle wieners, dangle wieners in my bag.
Stop, please! I can't take anymore.
But this is the best part. Right before King Joffrey gets poisoned, everyone flops their wieners all around his face.
Yeah! Listen, buddy.
Spoiler!
Nice.
So, yeah. You know what kind of makes me a little sad?
What?
You know the annoying guy?
Yeah.
He was talking about this episode, like, while we were in line, and, like, was trying to make people listen to that song. I was like, dude, come on.
And now you just did it to me.
And now I just did it to you. Because it was pertinent now. It fit into the flow of things. Don't shake your head at me. No one can see the look you're giving me right now.
I'm not shaking my head.
You are shaking your head. This is an audio...
you have no proof of this.
This is an audio medium.
You have absolutely no proof that I'm shaking my head.
This is a bad idea. I was also going to play the last Unicorn trailer.
Yeah, I just realized that two things about Last Unicorn. One is that it's Rankin and Bass, which is interesting.
Wait, what?
Rankin and Bass, they're the ones who did the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed.
Yeah.
And then they did, like, the Hobbit and...
Yeah, it looks a lot like the Hobbit.
But the other thing is that Last Unicorn was also the subject of a very vivid memory from, like, 5th grade. Where
for, like, everyone or just you?
For me.
Oh.
Where at some point in 5th grade when we were... I don't know why. It was like movie day. And I haven't seen Last Unicorn since then, but apparently the teacher thought Last Unicorn would be a good choice. And the only reason I remember it, and people who have seen the movie, I have no doubt will remember this, is when the tree with big boobs is smothering the character.
Dude, that's in the trailer, and I was like, did that tree have a giant rack? Like, what did I just see?
I remember watching this in 5th grade at my when I was in Catholic school, and I don't know why that wasn't something that a teacher said, hey, maybe this isn't good 5th grade viewing.
How confusing was that to your sexual development?
But I remember several of my friends and I probably the whole class, but I remember us specifically cracking up over this tree with massive breasts.
You just started finding yourself attracted to trees for no good reason?
No, because it was terrifying, because it was smothering. Like, so I've been afraid of motorboating ever since then.
ridiculous. Oh man, but the crowd reaction to the last Unicorn trailer was awesome, and I hope this is the same one that's playing. I mean, I'm again not really doing research or anything, just flying by the seat of our pants.
She is a creature of legend. In an age of sorcery and savagery.
Well, what have we here?
It's hard for a cartoon to really...
Demons.
No!
It's hard for a cartoon to sell savagery, I think. I mean, it can be done. I'm sure there's anime and stuff that do it, but...
Yeah.
Not if it looks like The Hobbit.
Fair enough.
And dragons. She may be the last unicorn.
All I want to know is if you've seen other unicorns like me somewhere in the world.
You can find the others if you are brave. They passed down all the roads long ago, and the Red Bull ran close behind them and covered their footprints.
If I get in trouble for playing audio, is like Red Bull also going to come down my throat for this? No, that's bad phrasing. Sorry. Whoa, what?
Wait, first of all, who?
What?
Red Bull?
Oh, I could never
I don't
leave
know.
this forest. But I must know if I am the only unicorn left
Red Bull,
in the
the
world.
drink.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, there's a tree with
Classic tale.
giant boobs.
Is now a classic animated adventure.
It's really disturbing.
Featuring the voices of Mia Farrow,
The spell was wrong, but there was true magic in it.
Alan Arkin,
My dear, you deserve the services of a great wizard, but I'm afraid you'll have to be glad of the aid of a second-rate pickpocket.
Jeff Bridges,
That is exactly what heroes are for.
It's you and me, Moth. Hand to hand to hand to hand.
Robert Klein, Christopher Lee,
I am King Haggard.
Okay, yeah, so in case anyone has forgotten The Last Unicorn or has never watched it, like, the animated version of Christopher Lee's character looks like Christopher Lee. It's awesome. Like, white hair. He looks like basically Saruman. Like,
wow.
Yes. Typecast much?
and the music of America.
It's the last unicorn.
A journey into the unknown.
What's that?
Go on!
A mystery full of wonders and a fantasy beyond imagining.
Not that one. I want to know who she
More
is.
Christopher Lee.
Splendid delight!
At this point in the trailer, like, you actually seem like you're watching, like, the end of the movie. It's like the evil wizard has called down, like, the giant red bull, and, like, the unicorns running around really frantically. Like, I think I'm watching the end of the movie at this point.
R2-D2's in it?
I want more of America.
The legend will live forever.
So awesome. So 80s. Like,
That's like not even 80s.
oh, is that late 70s?
Well, it came out in 82, which means it's much more indicative of late 70s.
Well, it's so much something, and it's kind of awesome. I mean, I don't know if a crowd reaction of people kind of laughing at the trailer is good or bad, but I like to think it's positive because it's like, wow, that's incredible. I want to see that. Like, you don't laugh at something you hate.
Maybe they need to bring back Rankin and Bass to do the Duncan and Egg stories.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Like in the exact same animation style?
Yes.
That'd be kick-ass. I'd watch it.
With the same music.
Just like dig up America and get them to... I don't know if they're dead.
I don't know either. There's a good chance. But
Yeah. Well, I think that might bring us to the end of the podcast. Brian, did you have anything else?
No. I think I can speak for everyone out there in podcast world that appreciates you sharing your trip with us.
Yeah.
And everybody out there that appreciates it should definitely tweet at TravisoTraviso hashtag thank you, Travis.
Hashtag. No, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely worth the trip if you're at all around Santa Fe
and you can do a day trip, or you have some time off, or like I hear there's really cool things to do in Santa Fe too. I just didn't do any of those things, so I think it's worthwhile. And also, one of the things I'm actually thinking about doing, because I want to go back to Santa Fe and actually hang out and see the sights and everything, is going for one of the other showings, because George really likes the theater, and I'm sure, like, you know, most fans of the podcast will love an opportunity to kind of support what he's doing, because it is a cool idea, and they were showing some pretty cool things. So I think I actually, like, when I post this, I might throw like some links and stuff either to the theater or to some of the other trailers, so you can see the type of stuff the theater's showing. So they actually had the author of The Last Unicorn out there too, like when they did the showing. So he was doing like book signings, and it's
really?
Yeah. And George goes to a lot of the events that he's putting on and everything. So if you want to try to, you know, make friends and get all buddy and not without like having to beat him down about Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire stuff, you can go to support like some of these other movies and stuff. And
or you could not go and support it, and then the theater will close, and then George won't have the theater to use as procrastination.
No, don't do that.
Song of Ice and Fire.
It was very clear that he wants the theater to succeed. Don't be a dick. And look, here, there's more than just. No, I like to think that the theater. I was going to say there's more to life than these books. And I'm like, no, I'm just podcasting about them and taking trips to go meet the author and crap. So, no, I think it's a cool thing to do. So. All right. Anyway, this is Travis. I'm TravisoTraviso on the forums.
And I'm Brian, and I believe I do have an account on the forums that's Ixworum.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks for listening. Keep listening to the Vassals of Kingsgrave stuff. Thanks for to 42 and everybody that helps curate these and allow us the opportunity to record and talk into the mics and assault your ears and everything. So, thanks, everybody.
Peace.